Welcome to The Explainer. Have you ever wondered what actually happens inside a person's mind when they read? Well, today we're going to look at a private reading log. It's basically a simple spreadsheet that spans several years. But you know what? It completely reveals the deep feelings and personal struggles of a really dedicated reader.
Here is our path for today. We'll look at a private reading log, the struggle to understand hard books, stories about fathers and sons, the pain of love, and finally, why we read. Let's get right into it.
Part 1. A private reading log. Let's explore a reader's personal notes. So here's the raw data. It's just a simple spreadsheet filled with titles, authors, and dates from 2006 and 2007. We can see famous books here by Emily Brontë and Teru Miyamoto. But right next to these basic facts, the reader wrote down some deeply personal thoughts. They recorded exactly how each book changed them.
Which brings us to part 2, the struggle to understand. Because, let's be honest, reading is not always easy.
Sometimes we read books and we just don't understand them. And this makes us ask, why read hard books at all? We expect to love famous novels, right? But sometimes we just feel totally lost. And a reader actually felt this confusion many times.
The reviewer faced this exact problem with a highly praised book called Ruta no Umi. They wrote a very honest note in their log. They just blamed their own lack of understanding. This reminds us that reading requires humility. A popular book might not connect with you, and, that's perfectly normal.
Now look at this massive number, 13. This represents the 13 volumes of Marcel Proust's famous book, In Search of Lost Time. Just thinking about that length can exhaust a reader. It's like climbing a huge mountain.
So, what did our reader do? Well, they found a faster way. They actually skipped the full series and read a shorter 2-volume version instead. Their log admits they were just tired of the long descriptions of high-class parties, but they still really enjoyed the core human themes of love and jealousy. The lesson here is pretty clear. You can take what you need from a difficult book and simply leave the rest. Moving on to part 3, Fathers and Sons. Let's compare two great writers.
The reading log compares two very famous authors, Kenzaburo and Teru Miyamoto. The reviewer actually calls them the absolute best at telling stories about fathers and sons. They both explore complex family relationships, but their writing styles are completely different.
Here's a really interesting detail. Our reader actually went to hear Kenzaburo speak in person about his disabled son, and they noticed his spoken words were clear and direct. Yet his book on the exact same topic is incredibly complex and hard to understand. This reveals a fascinating truth. The written word allows authors to hide deeper, more difficult emotions than everyday speech.
Part 4. The pain of love. Books often show us the dark sides of romance. In the log, we see The Moon and Sixpence by W. Somerset Maugham. The author uses these two items to explain a complex idea very simply. The moon represents art and high ideals. A sixpence is just a cheap coin, so it represents real life and money. The story follows a man who completely abandons his normal life to chase the moon, causing terrible pain to his family.
The reader copied this really painful quote directly into their log. The story explores deep betrayal. It shows the dark side of human nature. The reader noted that these words caused a genuine emotional reaction. They actually felt the pain of this rejection simply by reading the text on the page.
The log also features a book called Asa no Yorokobi, which translates to Morning Joy. But as the reader points out, the story is far from joyful. It explores sad relationships with no simple answers, and the reader highlights the author's strong belief here. An affair is not a light or casual event. It is a serious life-or-death choice.
Then there's another book, Orange Vase. It tells a gripping story about how a past war hurts people today. The reader notes that the book lacks a happy ending. The mysteries remain unsolved, and it leaves you with a really uncomfortable feeling. Yet, they read it very quickly. This shows that we don't always read to feel happy. Sometimes, we read to experience the difficult problems of life.
Finally, Part 5. Why we read. Understanding ourselves.
So, why do we read these difficult, painful stories? Well, we read to experience painful things safely. We can face betrayal in a book without suffering any real-world damage. We also read to observe irrational human choices, like in the book Kayanoki Matsuri. Humans are just not always logical, right? These fictional stories act like a mirror. They help us process the complex reality of our own, very real lives.
Think about your own reading history for a second.
Did a book ever leave you confused? Did a story ever deeply move you? The books that challenge us the most are often the ones that teach us the most. So I want to leave you with this final question. What book changed you? Thank you for joining me on this explainer. Keep reading.